Hi, how's it going? I'm Neil Bhandari, and this is my Earth Science Geotour presentation for the project. And today we're going to be looking at the Oxbow Bend on the Snake River. Now, for the Oxbow Bend, can essentially also be called an Oxbow River. It's specifically part of the Snake River. And it's kind of formed by meanders, which are basically curves in the river's current. As it continues to flow over time, the current erodes the sides. It also deposits sediment and causing deposition, and it kind of creates these point bars and sandbars everywhere that we see, which start to change the flow. And over time, the meanders are sort of cut off, forming these oxbow bends and rivers. Now, given enough time, um, they tend to isolate and create oxbow lakes. So the process of erosion and deposition that are happening here are very active. It's happening all the time. It's been happening for a very long time. The it's really common in these bends of the river, and a lot of times it's just layers and layers of rock and soil that are piling up over time in the bend, again creating some levels of isolation. Um, let's see. In the future, it's really, really likely that this will be cut off, that there is going to be a change in the Oxbow Bend, and the curve will become more and more pronounced, and the meander loop will eventually close off from the main river channel and create a crescent-shaped Oxbow Lake. In terms of past evidence of these processes occurring, of erosion deposition, just the existence of the Oxbow Lake itself really suggests that there has been an ongoing period of erosion and deposition in the area. But if we look really closely, we can see evidence of, again, these sandbars, this deposition, this erosion along the edges here. It's just very evident that this has been going on for some time. Um, Now, if we take a look at the panorama for the Oxbow Bend, which is basically just a very famous area for photographers to go, they find it very beautiful. And even here it says it's almost as if all the photographers feel a subconscious urge to take a photo at this spot, just due to the natural beauty that we can really see there. So we're going to go ahead and enter that panorama now. Just a second. Here we go. And we get a close-up view of the area. And so here we can see the river plain, which again extends all the way back to the Teton Mountains in the background. Again, it's quite flat, but you can see levels of erosion on the sides here. You can see that, again, the river itself is an elevation of 8,200 feet. There are some dams, there are some valley walls and canyons. Let's see. In terms of terraces, we can see the erosion here has definitely caused some terraces to form over time. They're definitely right above the big lake, and water kind of cuts down through the soil. It allows the river to be at a lower point than its surroundings. So the river here is just much lower than the outside terraces. We can also see some levels of deposition here on the side where sand and so on have piled up. And let's see. In general, I think that pretty much covers everything regarding the panorama. Um, Again, it's very beautiful. We have the Teton Mountains in the background. Just it's quite an amazing area for people to go and see. Um, Now we're gonna go ahead and take a look at a watershed on the surface, on a surface map, and the watershed will also be located on the same Oxbow Lake that we were already taking a look at. So go ahead and stop sharing. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at that watershed. So here we are. We're going to take a look at this watershed. And so we can acknowledge here that, again, there's quite a lot of greenery, shrubbery, some wetlands. And not much urban development, no developed open space at all almost. Very, very, very low levels of development here, which generally suggests that there is very low pollution and population in comparison to, say, Miami. And if we were to compare this to a watershed in the Miami-Dade area, which we will go ahead and do right now. But first, I'll just describe some of the sort of details regarding this watershed, which the Snake River watershed itself is actually so large that it cannot be analyzed by this watershed simulator here. So we specifically had to sort of select the Oxbow Lake Bend. Um, but the watershed for the Snake River itself is 169,483 kilometers squared. It's an area of land that drains into Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, and so on. It's very, very mountainous with the Tetons, the Rockies, the Salmon River Mountains, the Bitterroot Range. All of these are around it, and so on. Yeah, so that's basically kind of covers this watershed, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the Miami-Dade watershed now. So we'll go ahead and stop sharing, and we'll share this next tab. Just a moment. Here we go. And now we'll take a look at this Miami River watershed, which extends all the way into Hialeah, Hialeah Gardens, Doral, Grand Park, and so on. And this area is actually 183.93 kilometers squared. So it is obviously a lot smaller than the area we were looking at with the Oxbow River. But again, it's much denser. It's so the population is so dense. There's as we can see here, so much developed space. That means that there's been a lot more pollution. It's so urban. It's so industrial. There's lots of transportation, and pollution and population are just going to be going hand in hand. And both of them are just so dense in this area. And in general, yeah, it extends again into Hialeah, it extends into Doral. So there's a large population living in these areas. It's definitely very important for agriculture and for, um, you know, urban needs for health and so on. So it's a very important water source for the city. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. So in general, if we were to compare these two watersheds, Miami's pollution is just going to be spades above, a rural state like Wyoming, which we were specifically analyzing with the Oxbow Lake. So altogether, I would definitely love to go visit the Oxbow Lake and get the view for myself. I'm sure it's beautiful. And yeah, I think it's a very interesting project that we've completed here today. And I hope you have a wonderful semester, Professor. Thank you very much.